What if I told you the Boston Celtics turned down a top 10 draft pick, not once, but twice, in the middle of a supposed gap year? And not for just anyone, but for two players many assumed were on their way out. What is Brad Stevens really planning behind the curtain? Is Boston hiding a much more aggressive, unpredictable blueprint for the upcoming season than anyone expected? According to NBA insider Jake Fisher, the Toronto Raptors made a bold move. They offered the Celtics the No. 9 overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft. But that wasn't all. The Raptors reportedly floated this pick for Derek White and even went further, pitching the same deal for J.R. Holiday, provided Boston took on R.J. Barrett's expensive contract. Let's pause right there. You're probably thinking, why on earth would Boston say no to a lottery pick? The answer says less about the pick and more about how untouchable Derek White has become in Boston's internal hierarchy. In a league where stars get shuffled constantly and draft picks are gold, the Celtics chose loyalty and continuity over potential. That's not something teams do unless they know something we don't. What kind of version of Derek White is Brad Stevens envisioning for 2025? Could he be Boston's secret MVP candidate? Now, consider this. Holiday's departure wasn't about talent, it was about logistics. Barrett's contract, worth over $57 million per anno, didn't fit Boston's cap strategy. They pivoted. Instead of gambling with long-term money, they flipped J.R. for Anthony Simons and his expiring contract of $20 million. That's a massive flexibility play. Holiday, Porzingis, Horford, Kornet, all gone. But not because the Celtics lost faith in winning. On the contrary, this was about control, value, and timing. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. Golden State, desperate to stay in the title race, also came sniffing around for Derek White. They were told no. Hard no. Which begs the question, what version of White are we about to see that even playoff-starved dynasties are trying to poach him? Even Jaylen Brown, despite ongoing skepticism around his contract, never got close to being traded. Why? Because Boston doesn't care what the rest of the league thinks about his number, and clearly that meaning is deep. What if I told you the Boston Celtics are seriously considering trading their most accurate three-point shooter? Not for a star name, but for a backup big man who's never averaged double-digit scoring. Sounds insane, right? But dig deeper. And this projected move might be one of the smartest power plays Brad Stevens has up his sleeve. We're talking about Sam Hauser, the sniper who quietly evolved into one of the most reliable floor spacers in the entire league. Now, his name is being floated in a trade package for Goga Bitadze, a name that probably doesn't send shockwaves through Celtics Nation. But maybe it should. Because what if this isn't about names? What if this is about something bigger? Let's rewind for a moment. The Celtics have lost Kristaps Porzingis, J.R. Holiday, Al Horford, and Luke Kornet in one single offseason. That's not just depth, that's elite rim protection, veteran leadership, post-scoring, and two-way play, all gone in less than 90 days. Sure, some of that was by design. The Celtics are preparing for cap flexibility, roster reset, and mid-season adaptability. But here's the problem. Nobody wants to say out loud. Boston doesn't have a true starting center right now. Not a temporary band-aid, not a prospect, not a stopgap. A legit, rim-controlling, pick-and-roll surviving, paint-toning veteran big. That's where Goga Bitadze comes in. And here's the part that will catch even the most plugged-in fans off guard. Bitadze may be the most underrated rim protector in the entire league. In only 20 minutes per game last season, he averaged 1.4 blocks, pulled down over 6 rebounds, and had a true shooting percentage north of 63%. That's elite-level efficiency wrapped in a minimum spotlight role. And he started 42 games in a defensive-first system in Orlando, while surrounded by raw talent and poor spacing. Imagine what he could do with Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Jason Tatum around him. Now, here's the twist. This trade isn't just about defense, it's also a money move. Boston could shed nearly $1.7 million in future cap obligations and eliminate Hauser's 4-year $40 million contract. Why is that important? Because Brad Stevens is stacking chess pieces for something bigger. With Anthony Simons' expiring deal on the books, Stevens could be lining up space for a mid-season trade exception or a buyout market splash. Could this financial precision be laying the foundation for a Damian Lillard move? Should he heal by February? Could it open the door for another versatile big like Jakob Poeltl, or even a wild card name nobody's connecting to Boston yet? Hauser is a luxury. Bitadze is a necessity. On the surface, it looked like just another depth signing. Luka Garza, a 6'10" big man with a few stints in the G League and flashes of dominance in garbage time. landed in Boston on the opening day of free agency. But what almost nobody noticed is what came next. The Celtics didn't stop at Garza. They quietly doubled down, adding Josh Minott, another underused but high-ceiling piece from the Timberwolves system. Coincidence? Or the beginning of something bigger? Because here's the part that changes everything. These two didn't just play on the same team. They were developed together, sharpened side by side in the trenches of the G League. Garza even admitted it himself. "We've been through a lot together, Iowa. Training camp, fighting for a spot. We built chemistry through all of it," he said. But here's the shocker. Every time these two got minutes, they produced. Not in a loud, box-score way, in subtle, winning ways that Minnesota never truly capitalized on. The Timberwolves' rotation was clogged with big names and big contracts. Boston, on the other hand, now has a rare opening, especially with Porzingis gone, Kornet in San Antonio, and Horford expected to move on. Now ask yourself, how often do two players with proven chemistry, similar timelines, and complementary get scooped up by a contender at the same time? This isn't random. This is calculated. The Celtics front office didn't just see two young players. They saw a package deal, a built-in duo, one that has already clicked, one that could fill key minutes this season without requiring massive adjustment time. Garza is more than just a big body. He's a floor spacer, a hustle guy, an interior scorer with soft touch and underrated passing. His shooting from the perimeter forces bigs to step out, and his motor on the glass creates second-chance opportunities most teams dream of in their bench units. And he's the X factor no one's talking about. A 6-foot Tate wing with freakish athleticism, quick feet, and a nose for defensive plays that disrupt rhythm. He doesn't need the ball. He plays off energy, off chaos. That's the exact profile Boston needs, with Jason Tatum temporarily out and wing minutes wide open. Let's be clear, this is not about filling gaps. This is about flipping the script. Is Boston hiding its next breakout big man in plain sight, while the rest of the league obsesses over superstars? Boston may have quietly uncovered the kind of weapon that shifts playoff narratives, not through a headline signing, not through a blockbuster trade, but from the depths of Summer League, and the name you're about to hear might just become one of the most important on the Celtics roster when it matters most. Charles Bassey? That's right. The same Charles Bassey who was tossed around the league as an end-of-bench big. The same Charles Bassey who never had a real opportunity behind two generational centers, in Joel Embiid and Victor Wembanyama. Now, in a twist almost nobody saw coming, he's making Boston rethink everything about its frontcourt strategy, and the reason why should terrify the rest of the Eastern Conference. With Porzingis gone, Horford unsigned, and Kornet in San Antonio, Boston's big men rotation has become the team's most fragile point. Neemias Queta brings energy, but still lacks polish. Xavier Tillman is versatile but undersized. Luka Garza can score, but is vulnerable defensively. Amari Williams is a long-term project. None of these names scream postseason anchor, and that's where Bassey kicks the door open. In limited minutes during Summer League, Bassey has exploded with double-doubles, elite rim protection, and a rebounding presence Boston sorely missed last season. But here's the part that makes him more than just a preseason standout. His per 36-minute averages hint at a player who could provide 12 points, 11 rebounds, and over 2 blocks per game with extended run. That's math. That's math. That's projection. And if Brad Stevens is watching what everyone else seems to be ignoring, Bassey could be the steal of the offseason. Why haven't other teams made a move for him? Simple. They're focused on names, not fits. Boston, however, is looking for solutions, not spotlights. Bassey offers exactly that. Toughness, defense, low cost, low maintenance, and most importantly, upside. Let's not forget Boston is still slightly above the second apron. Every dollar matters. Every roster spot must be efficient, productive, and strategic. Bassey checks all 3 boxes. He won't demand touches, he won't take bad shots, he'll rebound, protect the rim, and battle for every possession. And in Joe Mazzulla's switch-heavy, pace-driven system, Bassey's mobility and strength become even more valuable. So ask yourself, what is the real cost of not signing him?